We drove over to Trilum Lake. This is Mount Hood behind me, the biggest mountain in Oregon. It's 11,000 feet tall. And today we're talking about the ego and the pain body and the biggest obstacle to enlightenment, okay? Which is the thinking mind. Holy shit, this place is fucking crazy. I wanted to look today about where the ego comes from and what it actually means, right? So a complete definition of what the ego is actually a false sense of identity with something that is external, something that is outside of you, right? Whether you are spiritual or religious or you are not, there is a reality that is outside of you, and then there's an inner reality, right, that we all experience within. The ego is something that is external, right? And where it comes from is, think about a child, right? Think about when you were a kid. Think about when you were growing up, when you were very young, you learned the word I, okay? And the word I, whether it's used from a deeper sense, actually has very deep truth in it. But usually the word I is used in conjunction with the ego. And it's to make yourself feel superior, or you identify the word I with things that are you. So when you're a little kid, you learn the word I, and then you associate it with who you are. Then you learn your name, right? A kid would learn their name, like John, or Mike, or Christian, or Leonardo, right? And then they associate that name with who they are, right? A lot of kids at this point, they would start to use their name in the third person, like Johnny is hungry, right? Or Johnny is sleepy, or Johnny is tired. But is this who you are? Is who you are your name and the word I? And then you learn the word mine. And the word mine, you then associate with a thought form, right? And an external thing. So this could be a material thing. It could be your toy, right? Like Johnny's toy, right? That later on turns into Johnny's house and Johnny's car. And you associate all of these things that are outside of you, right, with form, with things that are not completely who you are. Usually when you think of the word ego, you usually think of somebody who is full of themselves, somebody who feels like they're superior to others, right? Somebody who, like Kanye West or something, right? He has a big ego. But that is what I would call superior ego, right? When somebody talks about ego, and usually they think about superior ego. They think about somebody who is full of themselves and thinks that they are better than others. But there is also inferior ego, right? And this is what I call somebody who believes that they are not good enough, right? Who thinks that they are less than others. And the ego usually plays around a lot with this. You go from feeling like you're superior to others to feeling like you are inferior to others. And it just goes back and forth. Because the mind is a tool, right? It's something that you use like any other tool, and then you put it down, okay, when you're not using it. But most people never put down their mind, okay? It's constantly going. You're constantly thinking, right? And you can't stop thinking. Let me ask you right now, can you stop thinking whenever you want? Can you just be silent and still within? When Einstein, I read this in the book Mastery by Robert Greene, and it was one of the first books that I ever read. I've talked about this before, that really I just connected with, and they taught me about the 10,000 hour rule and working on your skills to master them. And I thought it was just an amazing book. And in that book, he actually talks about Einstein and the formula for relativity that he came up with. And he was trying to answer this question, one question, for 10 years. So for 10 years, he's given the space, right, to think about this question and to solve the question. And it goes through 10 years of time before he could solve relativity. And actually, he says, I believe he was like sitting on a bench and he had just given up on it. He was like, okay, I'll never solve this. And as soon as he just like let it go, the answer came to him. This is really interesting to think about, right? Scientists, it's not because they can't think, but it's because they can't stop thinking, that they can't be creative, and they don't allow space for a solution. Usually, when you're so filled up with problems, you don't allow yourself to have the space to think of different solutions that you can have. Do problems really exist? Think about it right now. Do you have problems in your life? Right? Your mind might be saying, yes, I got this, I got the bills to pay, I got to buy this, I got to go to work, right? I got to make a video. But in the present moment, if you narrow your life down to this very moment that you're in right now, not 10 minutes from now, not a minute from now, not an hour, not next year, but right now, do you have any problems? So, are problems in the mind only? Right? Usually a problem is something that you're dwelling on without taking any action on it. There are only three sane things that you can do in your life. When there's a situation that does not allow you to be present, that does not allow you to be at peace, you can either change the situation, remove yourself from the situation, or accept the situation. Anything else is insane. Anything else is just a thinking mind going and going and going and not letting you have the space and the stillness to be.